Was there any questions you want to raise up together as a group? Maybe there's your group had questions. An answer? No? It was all good? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
So Daniel's like he believes in the prayers of God and scriptures right from the beginning, like when Nebuchadnezzar chose him and
Yep, it was there. Remember, Daniel 1 tells us he purposed in his heart. Now that is an interesting phrase. It just tells us what that faith embodies. There's content there. What was he purposing? Remember we read Psalm 119? Blessed is the man that is not defiled in his way, undefiled in his way, who walks in the law of the Lord, seeking God with all their heart and that, keeping God's commandments and all that. And that means he knew God's laws. And he determined with his whole heart, I'm going to do this. Walk in God's ways. It just tells us there's content. See, when we talk about faith, a lot of times there's no content. What is it? Faith. It's like what is faith? I don't know. It's quite a nebulous thing. It's like a concept. You look at Daniel, it's very concrete. Not concept, concrete. There's solid content. What about God that you actually believe in? If I were to ask you, you believe in God, right? What about it? What about God do you actually believe in? Like, I believe in it with all my heart. Name me 5 things. What would that be? And a lot of people struggle. Apart from, I believe that God is loving, yes. I believe that God sent His Son to die for my sins, and through that I am saved, and that's it. That's it. Then your prayer will only be the prayer of salvation. When problems come, you don't know what to do. You really won't know what to do. When you're stressed out, when you are feeling down, you don't know how to pray. Because you had that limited knowledge of God. That's good knowledge, not to say it's bad. You believed in that, great, but how much more? Where's the content? What is it about God that you really believe in? Later on, we will look at Daniel, a whole list of things. No wonder he was so brave. Because he really believed that God is this. It's not just fanciful, I believe in God, it makes me feel happy. Yeah, it's not that. This is applied into the situation and circumstance of his life. Okay, so did he begin very young? He purposed in his heart. Now, already mentioned, why do I say very young? Okay, go back to Daniel 1. Okay, look at verse 4. Young men. There you go, right? Young. The emphasis here is a young Daniel. And then, right, no blemish, good looking, gifted, all wisdom, possessing knowledge, quick to understand. Now, you are young. Young means, I don't have knowledge. Now, all the disadvantage of the young is you lack experience, you lack knowledge, you lack wisdom, right? You don't have to stay that way. Cultivate giftedness. Look at that. From young. If you don't do this, well, neither will you have it. Okay, and some of you are pretty bright. Cultivate this. On top of everything, knowledge of God. And with that, faith. As part of the whole thing. Just a love for wanting to be outstanding for the Lord. This is God. I'm a servant of God. I'm a believer. I'm going to do God proud. He's my God. Right? Now, again, the word young comes in verse 17 in Daniel 1. As for these 4 young men, there you go. God gave them knowledge, skill, and all literature and wisdom. Daniel, in particular, had understanding in all visions and dreams. This is a special gift. Later on, he will employ those gifts. So God gives gifts as you seek them. Do you want to be wise? Look at Solomon. Solomon was wise because he asked of one thing from God. God said, ask anything. I'll give you anything you want. Because you've walked with me and you love me, and one thing. What is it? And Solomon asked for wisdom. That is a very good request. And God was very pleased. He said, you did not ask for long life. You did not ask for all the riches in the world. You did not ask for all your enemies to be destroyed. And he asked humbly, he says to God, I'm a young person. I don't have wisdom. You got a great nation. I need wisdom. I'm just a boy. I need the wisdom to rule your people well. And God gave him wisdom and everything else. Honor and glory. Ask. Right? There's a pianist that I really like. There's a little girl. She heard her father preach. Her father's a pastor, and she sat in the front, and she tells the story. She's quite a famous musician right now. She plays Southern gospel music. She plays Christian music. She shares her faith through music. And when she plays the hymns, you're just thinking, wow, I thought I heard the hymns played before. And when she plays, it just brings everything alive. And she said, when I was a small girl, I heard my father preach on the Solomon and how God asked Solomon, ask anything and I will give you a gift. And so that little girl said, when I was a little girl, I went back home and I asked God. And I said, God, I would very much like to play the piano for you. And she woke up and she said, I don't know whether I could play the piano or not. But one day, she hit the played the piano. They were stunned by how well she played. She just said, I've just found a love for it that I never had. I just love the music. The hymns are just so beautiful. And she played. Till today she plays with the same giftedness. She plays concert, you are talking packed out to hear her play the hymns. Who's going to do that? Because when she plays, you recognize that's a gift. And she tells people all over, she traveled, they all travel, family travels all over the place, that this is a gift from God. Not that she doesn't practice. She works hard. She really does. She works hard at it. But when she plays, look at the joy, her faith, her love, it just flows. The piano literally comes alive. If there were mountains, they would be singing. Gift. So the question is, do we believe in the same God today? We have this, but we don't. What's missing is that word faith. We hear these stories, but we never ask of God for a gift. We don't believe in it. We don't towards it. Little girl did. And she is one of my favorite musicians. There's no fanfare. Nothing. It's not about herself. It's just about her love for God. So much, so deep, it comes across in the way she plays the piano. And she was only a little girl, 8 years old. That was it. That's where it all began. So can God give gifts? Yes. God gave to this young man knowledge, skill, wisdom. It's a question of whether you would ask. Or do you ask? Have you asked from God? What is it would you like? If God were to say to you, because you love Him, you're faithful to Him, you walk with Him, He asks you, as He asked Solomon, ask anything, I will give you. What would you ask? Would you ask for yourself? Would you ask for wisdom? Would you ask for a skill? What would you ask? But first, you walk with God. Because what God gives, God can take. And God took away the wisdom from Solomon. Because God told him, as long as you walk with me. Because the moment you don't, it's gone. And it did go. His kingdom fell apart. Okay? Walk with the Lord. Choose wisely. We've got so much to learn. I mean, so many examples in the Bible. They cannot be just stories to us, right? Do we actually, that's what I mean by this morning is, do we actually believe in what we read? They are stories. And when you don't, nothing happens. They're just stories. To Israel, stories. When crunch time, they didn't turn to God. Remember? When the problems came, things got worse in the nation. What did they do? He hardened their hearts against God. They chose their own wisdom. They carried on doing what they were doing until no remedy. They perished. That is the negative example that can happen. Okay? This is the reality of life. Now, you choose the other side. Look at Daniel. Now, we're going to take a look at Daniel and his... What did he believe in? I asked that question. What Daniel knows and believe about God. Now, exactly, what does he believe about God? Now, first it comes out, what do you know about God? What do you know about God? Do you believe in it? You really believe in it? Now, look at Daniel's prayer here, because we have recorded a prayer of Daniel. I call this his thanksgiving prayer, obviously, because God had answered a prayer. Do we know how to give thanks to God properly? And Daniel blessed the God of heaven, right? Now, let's look at this prayer. Verse 20, Daniel answered and said, look at the content here. Okay, now this is all content. Blessed be the name of God forever and ever. For wisdom and might are His. Do you believe that? Do you believe that wisdom and might, power belongs to God and He can give it to whomever He wishes and desires? Do you actually believe that? See? That's what he knew about God. Wisdom and might belongs to God. Far greater than the wisdom of Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon. Of course. Right? Far greater than the wisdom of the wisest men on earth at that time. And every time. Wisdom and might belongs to God. It belongs to Him, and He will give it to whomever He wishes. You've got to believe in that. That's why He asked. That's why He will turn to God and ask for wisdom. Because He knows and He believed that wisdom and might belongs to God. Now, this is what he believes in. We go on further. Verse 21, and He changes the times and seasons. He removes kings and raises up kings. Wow. You believe that? You believe that God is sovereign, as it were, has the power to change times and seasons. God removes and God raises up kings. We can't believe that. See, this is where you're not afraid. He was not afraid of Nebuchadnezzar because he believed that on top of Nebuchadnezzar is God. God can raise him up and God can remove him. Just like that. And God did. See, what do you believe in God? What do you believe about God? That is your truth. If I were to stare you in the face and ask you the question, you will be blank face. I don't know. And so, a lot of the times, our prayers are blank. They're not effective. They don't go anywhere. if we pray. Prayers. Look at the prayers. Look at what we call this is content. There is a lot of content here. There is, you know this about God. You believe in this about God. So God has the power to remove. God has the power to raise. Now, he goes on further. He gives wisdom to the wise. Now, this is interesting. And knowledge to those who have understanding. This is really interesting. How come wisdom to the wise? They're already wise. And knowledge to those who have understanding. This is exactly what Jesus said. To those who have, more will be given. To those who don't, whatever you have will be taken away. If you don't have a heart that desires and strives for knowledge and understanding and wisdom, whatever you have will be gone. You don't have. If you seek for this, God will give this to you. But if we don't make the effort, remember, this is the effort, your effort. You don't make that effort to know. You don't turn to the scriptures. You don't really study the scriptures. You don't carefully read it. Now this morning, you got to look at it carefully. Look at the words. Look at the phrases. Look at where the full stop is. Can you notice something now? You know what I noticed reading Daniel again? Daniel 1. Now, this is picking up. Daniel 1, verse 2. Okay? And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, right into his hand, and some of the articles of the house of God, which he carried off into the land of Shinar. Where is the land of Shinar? Where was it mentioned in the Bible? The land of Shinar. Let's go to Genesis. Okay? In chapter 11. Verse 1. Now the whole earth had one language, one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there, and there they built the Tower of Babel. Where do you think Babylon is? They have been building impressive buildings for a long time. These people have been against God for a long time. They have been there. The arrogance, the pride of reaching heaven, to be glorious, to build, to rise to the top. Since the days of the Tower of Babel. That's a long time. Did you pick that up? Details. We gloss through the scriptures and we hope to find something. Doesn't happen. You comb through the scriptures. That's what God will look for. Where's your interest? To those who have understanding. Those who you really want to know Him. You really want this. To them, He will give wisdom, the wise. To those who have understanding, knowledge. If you have not, remember, not wholehearted, half-hearted, nothing. The Bible will always be a closed book to you. And if the Bible is a closed book to you, there is no knowledge from God, no wisdom from God, then that's going to be a very scary situation to live. What do you know how to make a decision in life? The decision is just your own wisdom. I'll try this, or let God lead me. Don't say that. Let God lead you. God is leading you through the scriptures. Read it. Then you will know how God will lead you. is not just a phrase we use lightly. Because when we talk about the Lord's leading, it's Psalm 25. Show me your way, O Lord. Lead me, teach me, guide me. All this talks about content. Guide me, teach me, show me your ways. Not where, God, where you leading me? Okay, you open doors, you close doors. That's your own faith. That's not the faith of the Scriptures. All over the place. Okay, so we got to be very clear here. When we say God leads us, what does that mean? The wisdom and the counsel came from knowledge, content, true content. Look at all the content here. God gives wisdom to the wise. God gives knowledge to those who have understanding. Do you have understanding? Do you desire understanding? Do you love understanding? No? Why give it to you? You don't know what to do with it. Are you wise or are you foolish? Are you going to choose to do foolish things? Why would He give you wisdom if you're not going to be wise? You're going to blow it and you're going to do crazy things. You will have no wisdom from God. Right? So you've got to look at this very carefully. So if you believe in a God that does this, if you know this, I ask, do you believe in it? Do you really believe in this? Because if you do, you would be praying and asking God for all these things. Because when Daniel thanked God, what do you think he was thanking God for? All this that he has prayed for. This is the content of his prayer. It's not just, God have mercy on us. He is thanking God for answering all these things. God had the power to rise, to remove, to give wisdom, to give knowledge. Go on further. Right? Okay, chapter 2. Back to chapter 2 now. And then we read verse 22. God, He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what is in darkness, and light dwells in Him. Now, this is deep. God is the one who reveals secrets. Nobody knew Nebuchadnezzar's dream except Daniel. Is to show you this person has God on his side. This person is in contact with God, not the rest. All the rest are just charlatans. You know what's a charlatan? A fake. There are lots of people who say, wow, I can call upon the gods. Right? And they do, I can call upon this. When a real situation comes, they have real no powers. Right? When there was a tsunami, this is so terrible. The tsunami that hit India. And it was tragic. Many people died. One of the places is Chennai. That's where we have our churches. They have a beach that is 1 kilometer from the sand out. It's a very long beach. The waves brought all the fishing boat onto the far side. I've never seen that. We went to see it after the tsunami, after it's hit. Of course, many died. Many of the fishermen died. There's no way of escaping this one. And so there are a lot of people they will say, some of the people say, this one is a prophet. And he said that he prophesied that the tsunami would be coming. You see, tsunami. Say it is soon coming. I'm serious. And they think, see, soon coming, tsunami. And people believe in things like that. First, if you are a true prophet, say it before it happens, not after it happens. What kind of prophet are you? After the tsunami has come and gone 1 week later, yeah, I prophesied about it. And number 2, I'm sure God can spell and has better grammar than that. How could tsunami equals soon coming? You see? There are lots of charlatans out there, unfortunately. They'd say, God gave me a vision, God gave me a prophecy, and this is what happened. And I saw, well, the latest one was a Malaysian airline that crashed. Then, one pastor actually saw it and prophesied that the Malaysian airline was going to crash. Why didn't you say it before? Why say it after? Why didn't you stop it? Come on. Seriously? And you're going to make a lot of money out of those things. Okay, so are there charlatans? Sadly, yes. There are fakes all over the place. True. Now, this one is truly God-revealed. Knowledge. True knowledge. That will happen. That will come to pass. Now, of course, the last part of it is Daniel. And he said to God in verse 23, I thank you and praise you. And that's his heart. I thank you and praise you, O God of my fathers. That's who he is. He's a personal God. He's the God of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might. See, the first part, to God belongs wisdom and might. God, you have given me wisdom and might. Now you have made known to me, what we ask of you. For you have made known to us the king's demand. Now, when we read this of Daniel, the question is whether we believe this for ourselves. If we do, what have we asked from God? Have we asked for knowledge? Have we asked for wisdom? Have we asked for skill? Have we given of ourselves to pursue knowledge, wisdom, and skill? That we may be a solution to the world, not part of the problem. That's what it is. Daniel is a solution, not the problem. It's so easy to just be part of the problem. Do you have a solution? What's your solution? What's your answer? What's your answer to the problem? Don't tell me why I got problem here, I have problem with this, I have problem with that. I got problem in my family, I got problem at school, I got problem at work. What's the solution? Sure, there are problems. What's your solution? Do you believe in God at all? You really believe in God? If you say you believe in God, why have we not asked? Because this shows us he truly believes in God. He's the God where wisdom and might belong. This is what James is saying in his book. If anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, and he will give you liberally. But ask in faith, not doubting. You like wisdom? Do you like counsel? Do you like, what should I do with my life? What decision shall I make? What shall I? You lack them. Ask of God. Are you asking? Do you give yourself to seek knowledge of God, that wisdom may be there for you to utilize? One, we don't seek. Two, we don't ask. Therefore, there is none. Right? You see Daniel's approach, why God heard the way he did, how he prayed. It has to do with his faith, whether you really believe in God. Content. What do you believe about God? Is there content of God? What are you discovering about God? Have you discovered that he is a God who removes and raises kings? Have you discovered that he is a God who gives wisdom to the wise? Have you discovered that he is a God that gives knowledge to those who have understanding? Have you gone deeper that in God, God knows what is in darkness? Do you? Oh, I don't know what's in darkness. What's in darkness? Darkness. That is, who knows what is in darkness? You mean there's something in darkness? I didn't know that. I thought darkness was just no light. Oh no, there's something in darkness. Really? Hope it's not creepy crawlies. But God knows what is in darkness. Wow. Look at Daniel and how he stands in awe of God. So was Isaiah. Have you not heard? Have you not known the everlasting God? His understanding is unsearchable. The all-wise God is none other than the Lord, the Creator, everlasting God. Wow, we should be in absolute awe of this God. But no. Those verses are chosen by me. Those were the verses that hit home, that rebuked, very much rebuked, that not only rebuked, just renewed my faith in God. Do I really believe in God? There may be verses you've seen so many times. Oh, He's Creator, He's everlasting God, He's the Lord, He's loving, judgment, righteous. It means nothing to you because you don't believe in it. Well, I do. Daniel believes in it. What do you do when problem comes? What happens? When you are so weak, when you are in deep pain, does knowledge of God come to your heart and mind to rescue you? I have a God I'm going to call upon. He is a God that gives strength to the weak. Wow, that's how I'm going to hold on to that. When I lack wisdom, to Him belongs wisdom. Well, I'm going to hold on to that. Okay? Well, look, take a moment to think about this. Okay, together. What we're looking at today is, yes, prayer, but you got to look at what this prayer, because he really believes in God. It's his faith that we see. That's what makes prayer. It's not a formula. It's not even the words. It's his belief in God. That God hears and answers. He's wanting to know God. This is what he has discovered. So young people, what have you discovered about God along the way? What have you learned and discovered? This is God. Daniel discovered much. Being very young, he may be young, 3 years, training. Now he's working. Well, his faith is now tested, put to the test. One day your faith will be put to the test. When you're under a lot of pressure, when you're pulled all sorts of direction, when you don't have the time and the luxury to spend time in the house of God, the exposure, you are all by yourself. And it all comes down to whether you really believed in all that you learned. Because for Daniel, it was in Babylon captivity. And thank God for a few good friends that kept in touch. They prayed together. Right? Develop friendship. Nurture it. Build the friendship here. If it will be wonderful. Cultivate this. From the start, let's purpose together. You purpose in your heart. This friendship is all about the Lord. It's all about our desires to really know the Lord, to grow in the Lord. Let's challenge each other to do so. And when maybe a friend has a problem, can we seek God's mercies together? That's what Daniel did. Very hard to find those friends. This is not easy, but it's possible. Okay, so is it hard to have such a faith? But it is possible. I would like to think of the possibilities rather than say, it's impossible, it's too hard. This was Israel's spirit. It's too hard. We can't do it. This, that. Guess what? You remain where you are. That's it. rather than change and say, look, I am going to do something about this. I don't have wisdom, I ask. Do I really believe in it or not? I have sins in my life, I am going to, Lord, you are a God who is kind, merciful, and gracious, merciful. My life is in your hand. Can I seek your mercy? Of course you can. It's whether you believe that God can save you. And God can rescue you from where you are. And God can make a difference in your life. Do you believe in this God? Or is it just stories to you? This is a God who took somebody like Paul and transformed him. This is a God who took someone like Peter and transformed him. Has he not proven himself over and over and over and over again to you? He's taken lives before your very eyes and transformed him. And you still doubt him. Why? Why do you doubt the everlasting God? He has delivered you from situations, from floods, from why? Will God, provide? You serious? The angels will be questioning, why God just give up on this church already? This church is so filled with doubters. And God hasn't. But why must we doubt him? Right? Okay, so please don't say, wow, it is too hard, it is too, Daniel's an impossible example. Then you say everybody's an impossible example. Where do you have? You're still who you are. This is exactly the problem. So Gabriel had to correct Zacharias. With God, nothing is impossible. He can have Abraham and Sarai, old age, bear a child. Can he not show you, this can happen? Yes. Old age. Gideon have 300 only conquer nations. He not shown you enough? You still doubt. Oh, maybe God can't help me. Maybe I failed so many times. Why do we doubt? That's the problem. That's why our prayers are not heard, not answered. We doubt God. We are inconsistent because we doubt him. I ask this, do we really believe that God can do this? Do we really believe in him? The God of Daniel. And I hope so. I hope this camp you would find a faith to believe in God. Really find a faith that just believe in God. That's all Daniel had. There's one thing that Daniel really chose wisely, is he believed in God. Every sense of the word. Okay? All right, we discussed for a while.